When I met Charlene, I was 24 years old. The girl was a bit younger, just finishing college. Like all lovebirds in the beginning of our relationship, we spent a lot of time together. When we started thinking about living together, we rented a one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city and moved there, getting closer and getting to know each other in everyday life. For about a year, we lived just the two of us until we started talking about marriage, and I proposed to my beloved. As we prepared for the wedding, we dreamed out loud about our own apartment, about traveling together, about a big dog, and so on. Money was tight back then, but since my college years, I worked as a website developer, and by age 26, I had some saving. So, after the wedding, we were able to buy our small apartment, which I took out a mortgage for in my name. I remember how proud I was because it was a big step towards an independent life. Charlene and I moved there and gradually began to pay back the loans together. It took several years before we paid it all off and got rid of that financial burden. Right after that, my wife started talking about traveling around the States. We had dreamed back during our honeymoon of visiting cities like Seattle, San Francisco, and Portland. But because of the loans, we couldn't afford it. I understood her desire to get away somewhere and unwind. But at that moment, I wanted to move up in my career, earn a little more money so we wouldn't go hungry or get into debt again after traveling. The proposed travel date kept getting pushed back, and I could see Charlene's mood changing before my eyes, worsening. It seemed silly because her job brought in much less money. You could say the two of us were practically supported by me alone, yet the accusations about why we still didn't have money for the trip were targeted at me as well. The atmosphere at home became more tense when I started working remotely from home. After that, my wife and I were like cats and dogs. For a period of time, I was getting few orders from clients, and because of the need to start saving, Charlene got even angrier at me. Although, to be honest, she didn't really lack anything. Even with fewer orders, we had enough for the necessities: the apartment, groceries, and household items. There was always money for that. But the very fact that I started giving my wife less money made her resentful. She took offense but didn't openly express her grievances and put up with it. Then she simply stopped raising this topic as if no talk of a trip had ever taken place. At first, I was even glad and assumed that she understood my situation and had decided not to bring it up for the time being. The first alarm bell rang when she started coming home with bags of new clothes, with a joyful face. Charlene announced that she had gotten a raise at work, and I didn't suspect anything ambiguous about it and sincerely rejoiced for her. Moreover, after this event, my wife seemed to blossom. She always smiled broadly when she saw me. She started cooking at home more often. She would dance while cleaning the house. Soon after that, she became actively going to the gym and getting massages at a new fitness center that opened near our home. Who would have thought that it was the mention of massages at the fitness center that would allow me to uncover the secret of my wife's change? In short, she started going to that fitness center every other evening, literally for 2 or 3 hours, and she really started working out hard there. She would come home tired with a bruise on her arm or on her leg. I told her to be more careful and naively offered to give her money for a personal trainer so she wouldn't overdo it with the exercises and hurt herself. Under his supervision, Charlene just shook her head no and explained that the bruises were not at all from the physical exertion, but from the massage. According to her, the massage at that center was the best in the city, and it allowed her to relieve physical tension from the body after workouts, so she had no intention of giving it up just because of a few bruises. Actually, it seemed strange to me that people could have bruises on their bodies after a massage. Yes, I admit that the masseuse could have taken the skin carelessly or accidentally used too much force, but the specialist's job is not to harm their client. It seemed weird that she came home with bruises so often. On top of that, at one point, my back started hurting, especially in the area of my shoulder blades and near my neck. Since my job was website development, I spent a lot of time sitting, which negatively affected my posture, impressed by Charlene's enthusiastic stories about the massage. I decided to also go to that fitness center for the service, hoping to relieve the pain in my back and also to see just how the masseuse performed the massage if bruises were left so often. That's when the alarm bells really started ringing. The receptionist at the entrance cheerfully informed me that there were no massages there and never had been. There were dumbbells, medicine balls, and other sports equipment, but nothing more. Well, this is interesting, I thought at the time. After looking at other places that offered massages, I went and got one done elsewhere. I came home that evening when Charlene was already home. I wanted to ask what was up with the massages, but rephrased the question a bit. So, how was the massage? Still doing it there? No pain? I asked her and, of course, got an affirmative answer. I didn't confront her right then and there that there had never been any massages at that fitness center since the day it opened. I didn't want to think about secret meetings with another man because I had no direct proof of it, but no other options even entered my mind. So I decided to act more cunningly. Since I had been transferred to remote work from home, I no longer needed to drive to the office every day, so my wife used the car. I installed a hidden camera in the vehicle, which streamed video in real time to my phone and showed its location. That's how I hoped to track whether Charlene really was staying late at work and going to the gym. And that's how the truth came out, as I expected that evening. When Charlene was supposed to go to the fitness center according to her schedule, she got in the car and drove off, completely not in its direction. Instead, she went to an empty parking lot in the evening near one of the shopping malls on the outskirts of the city. I saw my wife unbuckle her seatbelt and move to the back seat of my car, constantly messaging someone and glancing out the side windows. Soon, an elegant man in his 40s got into the seat next to her in the back. He kissed Charlene on the cheek. They talked about something for a while, holding hands. At some point, he put his hand on her knee and leaned in for a kiss. My wife reached for him in return. I tensely watched all of this on the camera stream. I felt nauseous from what was happening, but I couldn't look away from my phone screen. The kiss quickly turned into passionate embraces. I saw the man's hands greedily roaming over my wife's body as he unbuttoned her blouse. She enthusiastically responded to his caresses, running her fingers through her lover's hair and pressing her whole body against him. They kissed as if they were about to have sex right there in the car. I sat there paralyzed, unable to look away from the screen. How could Charlene so cruelly betray me and our union? I felt rage boiling up inside, unable to take it. I quickly got dressed and ran over to my neighbor friend's place. With no explanation, I asked to borrow his car, promising to return it soon and getting the keys. I drove towards the supposed meeting place of the lovers. Luckily, I got there without traffic and quickly, right at the hottest moment of what was happening. The car was rocking slightly on its wheels. The rear windows were fogged up from the stuffiness inside. They say, anger blinds you, but I felt clearer than ever in that moment. When I abruptly opened the rear door closest to the lovers and with one jerk pulled them both outside, just like that, half undressed. The first blows landed on the man's face, causing blood to spurt from his nose. I felt a crunch under my fist as I punched him again. Charlene was screaming with tears in her eyes, begging me to stop, but fell silent after a powerful slap hit her across the face. Luckily for the two of them, it ended at that. I left them both right there, lying on the cold asphalt, and got behind the wheel of my car and drove home. Before leaving, I'd only told my wife to take her suitcases with her things from our place and never come back. That's how it all came out. The next day, Charlene tried to come home and explain, but I didn't want to listen to her excuses. The betrayal had happened. No more words needed. Her things were already outside the door. At that point, the only thing I managed to say in conversation with her was about the upcoming divorce. We divorced quickly and without unnecessary talk, since the apartment mortgage was in my name according to the documents. It went to me after the division of property, but I soon sold it because I felt uncomfortable from the memories associated with it. With the remaining money, I went traveling around the states myself, which I had long dreamed of doing but couldn't afford before. As I later found out from mutual acquaintances, the man I had beaten up was her boss. After my encounter with him, he was apparently afraid to continue communicating with and meeting my ex-wife, so he soon fired her and stopped financially supporting her. Charlene was left without work or financial support and was forced to return to her parents in a provincial town. This story still hurts, but it's better to live with the bitter truth than a sweet lie. That's the story. Share your thoughts in the comments about this situation and the behavior of the spouses.